Assalamualaikum and good evening. You're now with me, Yusuf Shukri for TVS Nightline. We begin with a story. Capital A Berhad announces that its aviation arm, AIRASIA, is raising airfares due to a surge in jet fuel prices driven by the prolonged conflict in West Asia. Group CEO Tan Sri Tony Fernandez says the airline is also facing uneven fuel costs across its network, making cost management more challenging.
Raise fares, which is not something we like to do, but we want to keep it as minimum as possible, but it's unavoidable. We will have to cut some capacity where we don't believe we can cover the cost of the fuel, and fuel is not uniform. There are some places where jet fuel is $300, right? Averagely right now jet fuel is $200. So one, we will have to raise fares. Two, we will have to cut some capacity. Three, we will cut some costs.
Tony adds that the low-cost carrier has weathered multiple crises in the past, including the COVID-19 pandemic and global oil price shocks, and continues to remain resilient. He also says the airline remains committed to launching its London route via Bahrain, with its inaugural flight scheduled for June 26. Meanwhile, AirAsia X reports that demand for both domestic and international travel remains strong despite ongoing geopolitical tensions in West Asia. Group Chief Commercial Officer Amanda Wu says domestic travel demand is recording double-digit growth, supported by increased tourism ahead of Visit Malaysia 2026.
Week on week, the demand for domestic is strong, yeah. We're already seeing a double-digit growth as of last Friday comparing to 4 weeks ago. That, I don't think there will be a huge impact at the moment. For Duty Malaysia, we work very closely with the tourism board where they're giving us a huge support out of those markets that we are strong, predominantly ASEAN and also Central Asia. There are marketing efforts combined to bring in the tourists and the passengers into Malaysia. That has not been interrupted so far.
Earlier, TA Securities warns that Visit Malaysia 2026 may fall short of its targets due to the ongoing conflict. Although arrivals from West Asia account for only about 0.4% of total visitors, disruptions to airspace and transit hubs could affect long-haul travel from Europe and other high-spending markets. Despite these concerns, AirAsia expressed its commitment in supporting the campaign while optimizing high-yield routes and maintaining confidence in its operational and commercial performance. Indonesia raises the jet fuel surcharge by 28 percentage points and allows airlines raise their domestic ticket price, which the government caps by up to 13%. The government says the surcharge rises from 10 to 38%, while base fares increase between 9 and 13% due to global oil prices surge amid the Middle East conflict. Meanwhile, the government absorbs the 11% value-added tax on domestic airfares, providing about 1.3 trillion rupiah in monthly subsidies, with the measures to be reviewed after 2 months. For the record, global oil prices exceed $100 per barrel following the escalating conflict in the Middle East, driving sharp increases in jet fuel prices, including a more than 70% rise for domestic flights in Jakarta. Despite the pressure, the government maintains fuel subsidies and says the fiscal deficit remains within target, while also removing import duties on aircraft spare parts to help reduce airline costs. Apart from that, authorities also implement energy-saving measures, including fuel rationing and remote work for civil servants, as airlines across Asia adjust surcharges and fares in response to higher fuel costs. Meanwhile, South Korea plans to deploy 5 Korean-flagged ships to Yanbu port in Saudi Arabia's Red Sea to establish alternative oil supply routes that bypass the Strait of Hormuz. The conflict heightens risk to South Korea's economic growth and inflation as the country relies on the Middle East for around 70% of its crude oil imports. As Iran effectively shuts down the Strait of Hormuz in retaliation for U.S.-Israeli strikes, Seoul prepares emergency measures, including introducing a fuel price cap for the first time since 1997. Authorities move to deploy Korean-flagged vessels along alternative routes to secure crude supplies, including sending ships to Yanbu, though further details remain undisclosed. The government also plans to send special envoys to Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Algeria to secure additional oil supplies. Like many Asian economies, South Korea remains heavily reliant on energy imports through the Strait of Hormuz, and the disruption drives up energy prices while unsettling the global economy. Now, Iran has conveyed its demands on a potential ceasefire with the U.S. through intermediaries, indicating that indirect contacts are ongoing with Washington to end their current conflict. On a news briefing earlier today, Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakai says that Tehran has outlined its demands, quote, based on national interests and communicated them via third parties. Earlier today, Ismail rejects the idea of a ceasefire with the U.S., saying that a pause in fighting would allow them to regroup and resume attacks later. Hence, the demands were set and would only consider arrangements that include guarantees preventing a return to hostilities. Ismail says Iran's positions have been conveyed through intermediaries and the negotiations is, quote, ongoing. Regional tensions have escalated since the U.S. and Israeli launched a joint offensive in late February, killing over 1,340 Iranians in the process. Iran has reacted with drone and missile strikes targeting Israel and U.S. bases located in Gulf countries, Iraq and Jordan. In other news, a dam wall broke in Dagestan, causing massive floods in the city that killed 2, while 1,000 others were evacuated. The Ministry of Civil Protection says the dam was damaged due to constant heavy rain that has surpassed its monthly average by a landslide. Downpour began in late March, where the last 3 days of the month recorded the most intense. The bodies of the 2 victims, a woman and her daughter, were found, while German press agency DPA reports others remain missing after around 2,000 homes were flooded in the Durban region on the Caspian Sea. Video clips on social media shows entire buildings sinking beneath the water, along with a collapsed bridge on the Kavkaz route, which is of strategic significance to the region. The ministry states further rain is expected in the region, with localized cloudbursts and winds gusting up to 120 kilometers per hour. Landslides are also possible, it added. Flooding has also led to power outages in almost 20 districts in Dagestan. A state of emergency has been declared in Mahajkala, Hasavyut, Kapisk, and Durban. In March, authorities estimated the damage at the equivalent of $50 million, but the figure is now likely to be much higher. Back in Malaysia, the Global Sumut Flotilla 2.0 mission has drawn increased participation from Malaysian activists, reflecting the country's continued commitment to championing the Palestinian cause at the international level. Selangor Menteri Besar Dato' Sri Amiruddin Syari, who will lead the mission, says details on the number and identities of participants will be announced at an appropriate time to safeguard privacy and security considerations.
Kita akan menunggu masa yang sesuai. InsyaAllah jadualnya ada dan beberapa option yang kita berikan. Sebagaimana secara strateginya kita nak pastikan bagaimana sekalipun delegasi kita selamat. Jadi kita akan menunggu beberapa aturan-aturan dan juga ingatan yang telah diberikan. Jadualnya kita akan sampaikan. InsyaAllah bila sampai nanti kita akan maklumkan kerana ia melibatkan faktor-faktor keselamatan dan faktor-faktor strategi yang kita akan aturkan daripada masa ke semasa. InsyaAllah.
Amiruddin adds that this edition of Sumut Flotilla will see larger-scale participation, with nearly 3,000 delegates from almost 100 countries representing a wide range of groups and backgrounds worldwide. All participants share the same objective: to reach Gaza with peaceful intentions, promote safety and assist in securing the freedom of those trapped in the territory. Back in Kuching, the Kuching North City Commission DBKU is enforcing a strict ban on all open burning activities amid the current hot and dry weather conditions. Its mayor, Dato' Hilmi Othman, says the situation poses a high risk of igniting fires and worsening air quality, potentially affecting public health. He says the authority is taking serious note of a bushfire incident that ravaged about 3 hectares of a building in Petrajaya at midday on Saturday. Preliminary investigations found the fire was believed to have been caused by irresponsible individuals burning cable rubber in the area. As such, the BKU emphasizes that all forms of open burning, including the burning of garbage, garden waste, or open areas, are strictly prohibited and may result in legal action. He further urged the public to remain vigilant, avoid open burning, and use proper waste disposal methods through services provided by local authorities. At the same time, the public is also urged to reduce outdoor activities during extreme heat and to immediately report any fire incidents to the authorities. DBKU reminds that strict action will be taken against any party in violation of the regulations enforced under the local authorities' Ordinance 1996. Wrapping up the Nightline, a man who went viral on social media for driving against the traffic along the Old Klang Road in Kuala Lumpur has been sentenced to 3 days in jail and fined 6,000 ringgit by the Kuala Lumpur Magistrates Court on Monday. Magistrate T.G. Shazwani Yasmin Tuan Roslan handed the sentence to Wong Kok Wong, aged 32, after he pleaded guilty to reckless driving on April 5th. The court orders Wong to begin serving his jail sentence today and rules that he will face an additional 6 months imprisonment if he fails to pay the fine. The charge is framed under Section 42(1) of the Road Transport Act 1978, which provides for a maximum jail term of 5 years, a fine of up to 15,000 ringgit, and disqualification from holding or obtaining a driving license for no less than 5 years, with any probationary license revoked. Now, yesterday, a video went viral showing a vehicle being driven against traffic from the Old Klang Road to the Jalan Kuchai Lama intersection, endangering other road users. Authorities detected the video at 11:38 a.m. before launching efforts to track down the driver. Get all the updates you need all in one app. TVS Inspire brings you live updates on events, news, and programs. Available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. TVS Inspire, world on the screen, anytime, anywhere. And those were the updates on TVS Nightline. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum and good night.